Welcome, everybody, to Sally Speaks podcast, where I am your success and mindset mentor. And I really want to empower you to be able to have the success in your life and to be able to actually live your life on purpose again. I know a lot of us struggle in our life journey, and we get to that point where we just want to really tap back into what we really want to do in our life and create that life on purpose. And today I have a guest with me, Barbara Monahan, and she is from Ireland. Am I right? It's Ireland.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, shoot, am I catching the wrong place? And Barbara and I have had some conversations as of late, and what she has been able to create with her business has been absolutely incredible. And I know there's so many of our viewers that are in business and have businesses and really want to be able to grow their businesses to that next level. And Barbara is a brand architect. Now, I never even knew there was such a thing as a brand architect before I met her, but she is actually a level 3.
Yeah, level three with level C. Yeah.
Yeah, level C. And she helps businesses, mid-sized businesses, to be able to really build their brand equity and to drive their business growth. And I think a lot of us, from my experience, get stuck in, is it my brand colors? What do I need to do? How am I going to get myself out there? And in talking to Barbara, you're going to find today that there are so many things that we probably didn't even think about as far as what are the most key elements that we need to really stand out from the crowd. But in developing our brand, it's not just about the brand colors that we're posting on social media. And I think a lot of us switch our branding from time to time because we think it's not working or we get bored with it. But Barbara's here today to share some of the ideas that she has as a brand architect on what is really going to make your business stand out and to have that success. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you very much, Sally. It's good to be here. Thank you.
So I'm really excited because I just know there's so much information that's going to be so valuable to so many viewers. So tell us, first of all, what is a brand architect?
Okay, well, a brand architect is okay, so take a step back. I've been training with Martin Newmeyer, who not a lot of people know who he is, but he is the man who taught Steve Jobs everything he knew about brand. He's also written many whiteboard books, many books actually on the subject, and he's a global leader in brand design. So during COVID, I took the opportunity, having followed him for years, to train under him. So I took that opportunity, and as a result, I am now officially a certified brand architect through Marty's program of level C. So yeah, but what a brand architect is doing is we look at the brand from all sides. It's not just the logos or the colors that some people think it is. It's from every aspect. It's from your brand values, your culture, your business culture, your audiences, designing that ideal client. It's looking at your mission, your values, your vision, and ultimately your purpose. There's a lot of aspects to brands that people don't even think are anything to do with, they get confused. So they don't even think of these things.
Well, I think it's very easy today to get confused because as an entrepreneur myself, going online and seeing different things about different branding, or I'll look at somebody's the way that they're showing up and what their branding looks like. I'm like, oh, I really want to copy that, but is it me? Right?
No.
And it's like, okay, well, I really like their style because it talks to their brand, but what do I need to do if I'm a corporation, I'm a company, and I have a number of employees? What do we need to do to really hone in on figuring out what that right brand is?
We really need to start from the beginning, figure out what the problem is, because what a lot of people do is they realize they've got a problem and they want to jump straight to the solution because that's the natural human thing to do. That's what people automatically want to do. They want to solve the problem. But what we need to do is just take a step back, look at the problem, and maybe reframe that problem. Maybe it's not the problem they think it is. So sometimes I find a lot of people have gone and done maybe an ad campaign, a Google Ads campaign, or they've done some sort of marketing campaign, and it gets them to a certain point, and then they're not going any further, and they're just kind of going, what is it? What is it? And they don't actually know, and they don't know that they need me, but
Yeah.
it's usually brand, because brand is the long-term thing. And you mentioned there about looking at other people's sites and wanting to copy them. The thing about branding is you've got to find what is really you and what differentiates you from your opposition in the marketplace, because what you're trying to do is attract attention. So how are you going to attract attention? If you're the same or copying everybody else in your space, you're not going to stand out. You're not going to get that attention. You've got to find what it is about you that's really, really special, and that your clients really, really want and need. So it's that connection that's really important.
Yeah, I think, for the people that I've been working with as well, and people that I've seen that have come to board my work, is that they are really confused even about who they are and what they're really driving toward. So how do you help them to be able to really figure out who they are and what their message needs to be? Because that, I think, is where the starting point is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's figuring out who they are, what their business is, what they're trying to achieve, what their goals are, or what their plan is for the future. And branding is about the future. It's not about the past. It's not about crunching data from the past, because that's just going to keep you in the past. It is about that future proofing. So what I try and do is I take people through a series of workshops. So these workshops I've designed over the years, and I've put them together in such a way that I know that my particular clients, who are the medium-sized SMEs, I know that those workshops will get the best information from them. So once I gather all that information onto a series of boards that I've built, I use Miro to run these workshops. So I've built my boards onto Miro. And once I go through these boards with the business owners, there's a huge amount of information that comes out, and I'm always listening, because they talk about their businesses and they might say something that they think doesn't mean anything, but my brand brain will pick up on it. I'll make a note of it. We'll come back to it. We'll discuss it. It's lots of conversations. It's lots of questions. And the boards are actually the structure to facilitate those discussions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you have a system in place that walks you through step by step to gather the right information to then be able to help your clients to actually come up with the things that they probably didn't think about, a lot of the things that you're asking for, but then to be able to really craft a message that's meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. And meaningful is the word. Because you want to be meaningful, you want to be relevant to your ideal client. So you're trying to craft a brand that's going to appeal to your ideal client. And that, I take people through a journey to design that ideal client that they want, so that they know when they're making decisions that they're targeting this particular person. I help them to figure out what their I work with copywriters as well, but we figure out the tone of voice together. I do some work around archetypes, which not everybody has heard of, but they are personality types developed by, I think, initially, I'm not sure if it was initially Carl Jung, but Carl Jung, the psychologist, would be known for having used these archetypes. So I use these archetypes to try and figure out the personality of the brand, the words that we should use, the words we shouldn't use, how we behave, how we don't behave. I also go through, brand values as well, and that feeds into that. So the brand values, how you behave, feeds into the brand values of the business. And then everything is building on top of each other all the time. So all the workshops are building, building, building. So I'm gathering the information, and then we finally come to the crescendo of developing a purpose.
Wow. That sounds amazing. So now, when you're in these meetings with your clients, what are their ahas that they're getting along the way? Because for most of us, I think branding, we look at it in a different light than what you're doing, because you're actually the expert in it and you really understand the depth that we need to go. But what are some of the big takeaways that your clients are getting as they're working with you to be able to really say, oh my gosh, nobody's ever taken me down this path before. This is amazing. Because this is, I believe, the genius point that you have in working in the business that you're in, and with you being at that level C, that you're able to take them to places that they probably have never been before in creating their brand.
Yeah, I take them into a different way of thinking more than anything. They would not have possibly not have done anything like this before. It is a different way of thinking, and I do ask questions which make them think, oh, why does that matter? Or, what's the point here? And they don't really understand. But then when I explain to them, well, what we're trying to do is influence the perception in the subconscious mind of your target audience, then they begin to understand, and they think, oh, right, okay, yeah, I get it now. So there's a lot of aha moments along the way, but then at the end of it, when I come back and I present a couple of times throughout the process as well, to make sure we're all on track and that we're going the right way. So I come back with some ideas as well, sort of alternative ideas that maybe they hadn't thought about. And then, sometimes that's kind of like, wow, or I hadn't thought of it that way, or is that oh, okay, yeah, so that's the kind of reaction that you get. Yeah, it's interesting. And then we need to discuss these things and make sure that they're actually things that they can take on, that it's possible, it's actionable, and it's meaningful.
Yeah, because the information that you're gathering, from what I'm understanding, will actually help the team to actually start operating in a certain way as well.
Yeah, I do some work around culture. So your brand values feed into your culture of the business, and getting your employees and your teams on board is so important. And in fact, I would encourage people to bring in employees into these workshops, because everybody's got different opinions, everybody's got different ideas, and it's bringing all of those ideas together in a certain way so that you can then say, these are our values, this is what's actionable with these values, this is how we deal with it. And you're building a culture, then you're building your employees' love for the business, your employees' love for working there, and you're building that all the time. So if you've got this direction, you've got these values, which are the basis of your mission, your vision, and finally your purpose, and they believe in that and they've contributed to that, you will build a strong culture in the business. And that, of course, employee retention is a huge thing. So especially at the moment in this world. So
yes, it is.
That does help with that.
Definitely is. Yeah. Well, and I think, like you mentioned, most employees would love to have their voice heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And in a lot of organizations, at least ones that I've worked in, a lot of people definitely weren't heard, but you knew that they had some passions inside of them because they loved what they were doing. And so when they're able to be heard and that comes forward, that ownership of that culture and that brand is going to be stronger within them if they're part of that process.
Absolutely.
So I think that's fabulous that you're inviting them to have that opportunity to come into the process of building the brand with the company.
Yeah.
Because it is all about the people at the end of the day.
It is.
Right?
It is.
They have to live the brand. They have to live the process of it. So now, what are some of the top things that you've been able to create within your business that have led you to have this success? Like, what have you found, having worked with the people that you've worked with, and also with the processes and systems that you put in place, that have created the success that you've created in Ireland?
Well, okay, so I suppose when I started out as a graphic designer, designing logos for small businesses, but I used to do a little bit of strategy, but I didn't call it strategy. And then I began to hear this word strategy and I kind of latched onto it. I was reading Martin Newmar's books at the time, and I was thinking that makes a lot of sense to me now. And I've just been building the whole time, building on top of my skills as a graphic designer, but turning it around a bit and becoming more strategy focused. But I still do the logos and the visualization, but only after we've done the strategy, the full strategy, because they don't actually make sense until you've done the full strategy. I know of a company recently who did do what they called a rebrand. It wasn't a rebrand in my view, but they called it a rebrand and handed it over to a PR company, and the PR company actually had and still is having huge problems because the visual side of it is not marrying up to the business goals or the business side of it. So that's where the strategy piece comes in, and that's why it's important to have that first and to have that foundation, because from that foundation you can then build the visuals that reflect the strategy, and then all of that ties together and you can hand it off to the PR people, the marketing people, even interior designers have said it to me actually, that they would love to have this brand piece done first, because it saves them a lot of extra hassle and it saves the client a lot of extra money, but, you know, in the long run that they shouldn't be spending. So that's been my journey so far, and that's kind of led me to here. And when Marty decided to do level C, I think it was during COVID, I did the first one, the early days of COVID. That just really cemented everything for me. So I've been building ever since. I've been changing ever since. And as a result of doing level C, I'm now part of an alumni family, if you like. And there are 2 other level C brand architects who live in the UK and the Netherlands that I collaborate with regularly. So we're always encouraging each other. We're always, in fact, we're very accountable to each other, and we kick each other when we need to. We have that accountability thing going on between us, which is great, because
which is fabulous.
So that's helped a lot.
Excellent. Now, I noticed when I was listening to one of your testimonial videos about your perspective on the subconscious mindset when it comes to branding. So can you expand a bit on that? Because I teach a lot about the conscious versus subconscious mind myself in the work that I do, but I was interested to hear it coming from your perspective. Yeah,
absolutely. So obviously we have the conscious and the subconscious mind. What you're trying to do with a brand is influence the subconscious mind, because that's where our thoughts and our feelings live. And if you can influence that in any way by appealing to an emotion maybe, or something within a person, and it's taken into their subconscious mind, they're then forming thoughts and opinions about your brand. They're not necessarily aware of it, but within nanoseconds, those thoughts and feelings will bubble up to the surface and become conscious. And then that conscious thought is what that person will believe about your business or your brand. So you're trying to influence the subconscious in order to appeal to people. I usually use the analogy of an iceberg. So what's going on underneath the water is huge. And when it bubbles up to the waterline and is on the surface, that's a very tiny piece that's showing. But that is their belief about your brand.
So is there an example that you could use, say, about cars or anything like that, that would talk about the difference of, you know, the subconscious, the feeling of owning, you know, a luxury car versus a non-luxury car, because it's a basic car,
Yeah.
average car,
Um,
as it relates to branding.
yeah. I think it's about values. That's more a question of value. What do
Okay.
you value? I think. You know, so if you value, okay, so I was talking to somebody in the small business community there a couple of weeks ago, and he said he is in the sales end of things, and he was saying, do you want a Mercedes because, you know, do you value that Mercedes? Do you want it? Do you need it? No, but it might add value to you in your life. So therefore you do value it, and therefore you want the Mercedes, but you don't actually need it. Any other car would get you from A to B as well. There's nothing, it's in terms of brand building to create that value piece as well. It is the influence that maybe Mercedes has on your subconscious mind. Who are Mercedes appealing to? They have the ideal customer in mind. So maybe they're speaking to the archetype of the ruler who wants to be in control and powerful, you know, just as an example. But I don't know. But they would use their imagery, their words, their stories to influence the subconscious mind of that person that fits the archetype, so that when it bubbles up to their conscious, they go, I really want that Mercedes. You know?
Yeah, so it sort of has this whole picture in your mind of the type of person, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they walk, and the, you know, how they're sitting in the vehicle, and the feeling that they would get from that is all part of that branding to set that brand apart. And so being able to pull that into your clients' opportunities in your system is a way to be able to help them to really sort of simplify or see what that could do for them. So when you're really digging into that ideal customer, because I think so many of us throw out a broad, well, anybody could be my customer, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy enough to do that. And it's like, ooh, but should I be really more specific? Right.
Yes.
And I'm seeing people now marketing themselves, even from, you know, their solopreneur businesses, getting very specific on the type of person they want to deal with, right down to, you know, their emotions and their feelings, their, you know, their, if they're a female entrepreneur, all of those types of things. I see people getting a lot more specific, and it seems to really drive those. It sends a clear message, I guess it is, to the people. This is exactly who I deal with. If you're one of them, come see
me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right? Well, it's that creating that personality, creating that brand personality, creating that, you know, people, that attention that you want that person to pay attention to. What is it that you want that person to pay attention to? So you're saying what they need and want. You're appealing to their values. So it's yeah, that's you know, knowing your ideal customer and designing your ideal customer and being able to message to appeal to their subconscious and to appeal to their values, their needs, their wants, and make all of that, make them pay attention to you.
So is it hard sometimes for business owners to really narrow down the scope of that customer?
Yes, it is. I have a client at the moment who is actually quite an analytical type of person. So he finds it difficult, and we were doing the audience profiling, and I would actually have rung, so and when I say design the customer, I would have actually rung his clients, and I would have done a survey with his clients as well. So I would have a picture of what I think they are in my head. He would also know in his head, but it's actually designing the customer of the future and, you know, attaching it to the business in the right way. So he found it very difficult. And when we got to design his customer, he had the sudden realization, oh, this person doesn't exist. It's going, you know, we're actually designing this person so that it fits with your business and your business goals and where you want the business to be in the future. So, you know, we're designing your future customer for your future business. So, and when he got that, he kind of went, oh, okay, I get it now. So,
Yeah.
but it does take a bit of time, or, and it's fun. It's fun
Yeah.
along the way as well. So,
Yeah, I think, for a lot of people that I've worked with over the years in business, until they got really specific about who their ideal client was, then that's when they started to attract and put in the right strategies to be able to attract that product or that person, right? Whereas others would just be wide open, and it would be like a dribble in of people because it wasn't ever anybody that was the perfect fit. So I can
yeah.
really see the value of that. And I have to revisit my own strategy, I know, based off of this conversation, which is really cool. Because I know there's a lot of people like me out there that are just like, I'm almost fearful to make it too small, that I won't attract the right people,
Yeah,
right?
that is a fear. That is a fear. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do know at the same point that I'm attracting a certain demographic, and I'm attracting a certain age, and I'm attracting a certain desire and commonality in what they're, where they are today and where they want to be. And it's like, okay, well, if I just focused on that, what would my results be compared to what they are today, where I'm just sort of trying to touch a lot of different people? But if I got very specific, it would really, I'm sure based off of this conversation, it's making me really revisit and rethink about what my branding needs to be, and not to be fearful of
Yeah,
being very specific.
exactly. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, if you're not specific and you're taking on work that doesn't turn out quite right, and maybe you're not getting on with the client that well, and it becomes a problem, it might become frustrating for not just you but for the client as well, because you haven't got that exact fit. So that's the other flip side to it as well, is getting the clients that you really want to work with and that you really want to help them. You
Yeah, I
get
can
that
definitely see that
bond.
just from my own experience. And I mean, I used to work in the finance and insurance business as a leader, and working with they were all entrepreneurial because they all owned their own business with under the umbrella of a name. But just thinking about the people that we were leading and managing there, and who their ideal clients were, and who had the bigger businesses, and who struggled, right? It's very clear. But not having had that education like you're giving me today, from that perspective, I mean, the difference that it could have made in so many people's, and that it can make in so many people's individual businesses, that can attract very high net worth clients, or, the moms and pops. It doesn't matter which one you want. It's where do you want to put your time, right?
Yeah,
Where's your niche? Where are you comfortable with? What's the difference you want to make in their lives? And how are you going to serve that audience?
exactly. Yeah.
So I think, just thinking about it, there's so many different businesses out there, and that specific level that you're working at, I think is absolutely huge. So now tell me, you were talking about that, the type of clients that you want to deal with, but can you go a little bit further to be a little bit more specific, so that if anybody's listening, they know, oh my gosh, Barbara's the one I need to go talk to.
Yeah, sure. So usually they're putting out fires. They're not getting the growth that they want. They've hit a ceiling. They're figuring out, how do I solve this? Why isn't it working? What am I doing wrong? Not getting the sales. They're kind of maybe they've got different strands of the business coming together. There might be a merger involved or something like that. Maybe there's a family business where they're handing over from one generation to the next, and you want to make your mark on it. Maybe there is a change in the demographic, or a change in people's buying habits. And there's something in the market that's changed, or maybe an opposition has come in and done something that you're kind of thinking, oh God, that's going to kill me. You've got to reinvent yourself. You've got to, those kind of things, those kind of situations.
Okay.
And things are always changing, and the market is always changing. So you've got to keep on top of it, and you've got to, keep your eye on it, and focus, and know who you are, and know where you want to be, and, keep your eye on the road.
So with your clients that you're working with today, and you're working with their branding, how how often would they need to come back to just sort of revisit and make sure they're still on track, or that they need to tweak? Or is it just based off of them looking at their business results and saying, something's changed, I need to ramp it up, or my business has grown this amount, but now it seems to be steady? Like, how is it that they determine when's a good time to come back to work with you?
I would check in with people after I hand over everything. I would check in with them again a couple of times afterwards to make sure that they're okay. I recently had a client where she just became far too busy. She had everything and was really happy, but she just became far too busy again, because everything opened up again from COVID, and she lost track again. So she came back, and I think we spent 3 hours here, just going through everything and refocusing and going back over stuff to say, this is why we made this decision. This is why we were doing this. So she knew herself that she kind of lost focus a little bit again since we last spoke. Plus there's other people in the business who are also involved in decision making. So she was kind of trying to figure out, well, is this the right decision? So, it was a valuable time spent trying to refocus on the brand. I do offer a coaching service. So if people want to keep me, there for them whenever they need me, I do like a monthly payment thing where, they can ring me and say, look, we're thinking about this. What do you think? Or something's happened and we're not quite sure how to handle it, or what do you think? So I'm there for them, and I'm there to help them, and I'm there to give them that clarity in that direction.
Yeah. Well, that's very helpful, because what if, like, I'm thinking in that particular case, so I was bringing in a new product and I wanted to make sure it was still in alignment with what my branding is. Would that be an example of something that might happen? Or a new competitor has shown up, so I want to be able to make sure I'm still holding my share of the marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe a startup has come in and, turned you upside down a little bit. You need to look at what the startup is doing, maybe a little bit of investigation there, a little bit of research, and figure out what the startup is doing. And then, think about your own brand and think about, okay, well, they're going to do that. And that's, what are they going to do in the future? What can we do to preempt that, so that you're getting there before everybody else, so that you're actually forcing the startup or the opposition in some way to back off, or to, in some way they have to give up, or they have to quit because you've done X, Y, and Z.
Or your market share has grown and they're just starting and they're not going to have that same type of growth because you're on top of your branding and your market share, right?
Yeah, sometimes those startups and smaller businesses can be really agile and flexible. So, whereas the other companies that are bigger might be a bit more unwieldy, there's different things at play. So, every situation's different. And in fact, every business is different. Even within the same category, every business is different. So you just got to figure out what's right for you and how you're going to attack the situation. So that's, I come in and say, okay, this new product that you're thinking about would fit really nicely into what you're doing. And, maybe this is another way that you could push it a bit more. Maybe this is a way you could message around it. And I see this opposition might have a problem with that. And maybe, that kind of conversation is always good.
Okay. So now, personal question, what do you like the most about your job? Or your career?
Everything. Everything. I love it. I like, even in my downtime, I'm reading brand books. That's what I'm doing. But I just love it. I really love it. There's a bit of psychology in it as well. So you'd be reading those kind of books. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm a creative person anyway, so I love every aspect of this.
Nice. Well, you'd also have to have a very sharp mindset to be able to deal with lots of different businesses, right? To understand how business works, and then how to be able to craft, because I think, as you say, it's very creative what you do, but it's also very strategic. So understanding business overall, but also bringing in the branding piece of it and how to create that so it is going to be a success for your clients. And
Yeah.
when I was listening to your testimonials, the video testimonials, they were just like head over heels, excited to have had the opportunity to work with you. And that to me is a great testament to the beauty that you bring to them, and then also the insights that you bring to help them to really master their branding.
Yeah.
Because the branding can make all the difference to the success of a business.
Yeah, definitely it does. And
And
most
that
times
messaging.
when you talk to them afterwards and you say, how's it going? They all say, yeah, the footfall's increased, or yeah, I've really got clarity and direction now. I know where I'm going. My turnover's increased.
Mhm.
Like I've one lady who I rebranded a good few years ago, and she's coming back next week to just talk about how her market situation has changed. And
Mm.
she wants to make sure that, and she said, I don't want you giving out to me for breaking my brand. So, she's coming for lunch. So. But it's that kind of, they're lovely. Clients are great. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's, when we look at branding, I'll just use Coca-Cola as an example because it's a global one as well. And they can just have their logo and everybody knows exactly what it is and who it is and what they provide, right?
And what they stand for, yeah.
So there's lots of different brands like that that already are so well known that we can associate a feeling to it, a lifestyle to it, and an experience, I guess I'll call it, for that particular branding. So I can imagine how it feels when you're creating that for someone else.
Yeah.
To be able
And
to
a lot of, sorry.
Go ahead.
A lot of small businesses would feel, oh, they're big brands, sure, that doesn't apply to me. But it's actually not true, because when you do, like this lady that's coming in a couple of weeks' time for lunch, she's a very small business, like very small business. And it means an awful lot to her. She has a branded car on the road and she loves it. It means a lot to her, and it is bringing in the business for her. So she knows that it's working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So I know I started a women's networking group after, like recently in the last year, locally, because there really wasn't anything going on face to face anymore. And I can tell you there's a lot of people out there with their businesses that are coming in droves to our actual women's networking that's live in person, just to connect with other people. But then the energy that's created from that, and the opportunity to really fine tune your branding and your speak within that, is huge. And so it's been really fun to be able to get that back up and going in my community, because they really had stopped, right? And there was nothing for women. And it's like, wow. So a friend of mine and we started it, but we've been branding it and marketing it in our local area, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing so fast, and we're not even 6 months in. And it's been really fun to be able to create an atmosphere that has a feeling that is like nothing they've been to before. So when you're talking about that, I'm just using that as one small example, because it's just something that I started because I wanted to be able to see people in person again, with other women that are in business, and to meet other people, but to be able to brand that one little thing has been really fun for us. And it's driven people to us because of that consistency as well in the message that we're presenting in the branding. So what I'm hearing from what you're saying, there's a lot of those little things. And so for me, it doesn't have to just be, my big company. It can be anything that we have that we're wanting to brand to be able to attract those people. So, the information that you're sharing today has been so valuable to myself, but also to our listeners, because I think we can all take pieces of what you're talking about and say, wow, what do I need to do? And how can I brand anything in the marketplace, right? Whether it's our personal activities, whether it's, maybe you want to brand yourself as being an outdoors person on your social media. How are you doing that? Because that's your fun piece, that's your entertainment piece, because there's branding involved in that too. So I really appreciate all of the insights you've given us today, because I can see your passion, first of all. And I can see that you love that creative atmosphere, but you just have so much joy in what you're bringing forward into your business, that there's no way your clients aren't going to be successful because of what you're bringing to the table. So I really appreciate that. But is there any other tips that you can give as far as what would, you know, it would be like to be able to work with you and your team for branding?
It's fun. It's not normal business. It's fun, and you do have fun conversations, and yeah, it can be a nice thing to do. You know, it does get you places. It does improve your bottom line. And the thing is to be consistent as well. Once you have your brand and you have your logo and your colors and your fonts and everything and your messaging, be consistent, because as soon as you start breaking that consistency, you start confusing your audience again. So don't confuse them. Stay consistent and stay strong, and, you know, stay real. Be authentic. Always be authentic. Don't ever lie.
Yeah.
You know, just be what you really are, you know.
And come out with a, you know, state of service to others. All of those great qualities that we need to bring forward. But I love the fact that, you know, stay steady to what your branding is, and don't hop and think that you have to change it quickly. Like, oh, well, this didn't work this month, so I'm going to change it to this the next month, and so on. Because I see a lot of that, especially with solopreneurs, right? Because we're all trying to figure out where we fit and what we should be doing. But I also see that with a lot of different people in different industries where they're, maybe it's in direct sales, network marketing, where they're building up in their leadership, but they're sort of scattered in their message as well. So there's lots of different people that are out there trying to establish themselves, which is fabulous. I just love how many entrepreneurs there are these days, because it gives us so much opportunity to grow. But I really appreciate all of the information that you've been able to share as far as that branding and the types of customers that you like to work with. But can you tell us where we can find you?
You can indeed. You'll find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm actually posting articles more or less on a weekly basis. It is Cube Design Dublin on my LinkedIn profile. That's the main place you'll find me. There is also links there, and there's links on my website, cubedesign.ie, to a discovery call, and I'm always happy to have conversation with people. So find the link to the discovery call. It's on my LinkedIn profile, it's on my website, and I love having conversations. So always do that. Always happy to do that. Yeah.
We'll post all of those links in the comment section or in the post as we put it up, so everybody can find you easily. But we really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your love for what you do, the joy that you get from your position, but all of these great insights that can help anybody at any level of branding, but especially for those people that have the opportunity to work with you. I definitely take advantage of that if you can. Now, are you working with people outside of your home country?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Yes. I do everything online. So, you know, I have some face-to-face locally, but most of my stuff is done online. All my workshops are done online. Yeah, absolutely anywhere, thanks to COVID.
I know we're global now.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, please. So I just want to thank you again, and absolutely, if you are interested, if you're a mid-sized SME, then please make sure you reach out to Barbara. She's obviously, you can see what she brings to the table in experience, in education, passion. She's studying on her time off. That's when it becomes your passion. But it definitely is, you know, you can tell from just the smile on your face and the joy that you bring forward and the level of knowledge that you have to be able to see your clients succeed, I think is the beauty that you bring forward. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And make sure you reach out to get your free discovery call, because this is going to really make a difference in the success for your business. So thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much, Sally. I really appreciate this conversation. It's been lovely chatting to you. And I know we do have a lot of similarities in what we do in our businesses. So thank you. It's been a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're going to talk mindset over and over again. Excellent. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Sally. You're very good. Thank you.